Our president is using cheat sheets now. This one came out from the LA Times. You see, it shows a question that Joe Biden was going to get on April 26, 2023 from Courtney Subramanian. The name has been articulated there in pronunciation format for us and the president. And she's from LA Times. And the question is summarized right here. It says it's about foreign policy, semiconductor and manufacturing. Mr. President, how are you squaring your domestic priorities like reshoring semiconductor manufacturing with allies and other things cut off based on foreign policies into a theme, so-called, where around cut off, where around weather and benefit are so-and-so? And this is one card of many cards that the president gets. And certainly you can understand the president having a list of people to call from. Your first question is going to come from Courtney, but not the substance of the question, not what she's going to ask you about. So on the other side of the card, you have your answer that you can just read from, because that means that this whole thing is basically fake, right? It's not real. These are pre-scripted questions and answers. And the question for us is that coming from Joe Biden himself or somebody else? So obviously a photographer got a close-up of this image, and Town Hall assembled more for us. They put this together. You see another angle, question number 1 on foreign policy. Now, this was out at the White House when the president was meeting with the president of South Korea. And the question is not verbatim as it's written here. This is just a summation of the question. And so we're going to listen to Miss Courtney Subramanian, who is going to ask a question that is not verbatim, but it is very much the same question. Here it is.
First question from Courtney of the Los Angeles Times.
Courtney didn't say the last name.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your top economic priority has been to build up U.S. domestic manufacturing in competition with China. But your rules against expanding chip manufacturing in China is hurting South Korean companies that rely heavily on Beijing. Are you damaging a key ally in the competition with China to help your domestic politics ahead of the election? And one for President Yoon. There have been concerns since last year that North Korea will soon be conducting its 7th nuclear test.
Held it up. Somebody got a
growing
picture of it.
Domestic support
Right
in your
there,
country for your own nuclear weapons. Meanwhile, Russia has suggested it could send its latest weapons to North Korea if South Korea sends lethal aid to Ukraine. How do you seek to manage the North Korea risk amid obligations to Ukraine and NATO? Thank you.
All right, now the answer doesn't even matter because it's just some stupid scripted written answer that he just literally read from. So it's almost like a fake script. It is a fake script. She knows what she's going to ask. She's already communicated about this to the president, and he has a pre-prepared answer to go back to her. And this is at a meeting with a foreign president of a foreign state. And we would mock another country if they had this happening in their country. We would say, this is nuts. Your media is asking you fake questions in front of foreign presidents, and you want us to pretend like this is democratic, like he's answering questions from the people? That's ridiculous. The whole thing's like wrestling, WWE, with all due respect to those gentlemen out there fighting for their lives. This is a joke. And of course, we want to know whether or not there was any response to this. So we go over to Courtney Subramanian's Twitter account. We ask ourselves, is she going to respond to this? Is there any basis or explanation for this? Is she going to tell us why the LA Times is colluding with the White House with fake pre-scripted answers? No, nothing. She's going to talk about Joe Biden running again. Very excited about it. Going to talk about Harry Belafonte, rest in peace, and trade tensions. But nothing about colluding with the White House with fake pre-scripted questions at all. A little more comes over here. The cheat sheet was held up during a press conference. The official question was, how are you, Mr. President, you, referring to you, squaring your domestic priorities, like reshoring semiconductor manufacturing with alliance-based foreign policy? It was at a joint press conference. Another cheat sheet was also there. It showed the names of other Biden administration officials to relay the order the remarks would be delivered. You see this one, here's another angle of it. You got to keep those things close to the vest, Joe. You can't hold those out. We saw another photo revealed that he had advanced knowledge. There was another one that said, you enter the Roosevelt room and say hello to participants. You then take your seat. That was in a prior note as well. So these are pretty embarrassing note cards for a president that we already have concerns about his competency. Senators are also making a mockery of this, as they should. Marco Rubio says, the media is in Biden's pocket, literally in his pocket. And he's right about that. He just pulls out a card and they spring into action, asking him a question. Great job. Is that what they teach in journalism school? To coordinate with politicians on questions so that you can conduct these little fake experiences for foreign politicians and pretend like you have a competent administration. It's embarrassing, and Rubio's not alone. Here's another senator. Mike Lee says, I find this troubling on many levels. You see how they got the photo there. He held it up and boom. Those high zoom photos, and Vivek talked about this too. He said, if I'm the nominee, I fully expect the regime media will do something similar to give him an edge before our debates. But he says it won't matter. I'll even let him keep the earpiece if he wants and do a line at halftime. Oh, man. Nothing will save him. Oh, man. Home run from Vivek. Let's go, baby. I'll even let him keep the earpiece if he wants and do a line at halftime. Oh, so good. All right, so that came in. You see, he has an earpiece too. Shout out to Vivek on that one. Wow, home run. All right. And so Trump closed this one out. He said, look, Biden announced his presidential campaign by, and get this, a prepackaged video, one that took 7 takes to get it right, if right is what you want to call it. In it, he says Trump and MAGA pose a threat to democracy. No, it's Biden who poses the threat to democracy, in that he is grossly incompetent and basically doesn't have a clue. We are now a nation in serious decline, a nation that has lost its way. We are led by a hopeless person, but we will win in 2024 and make America great again. From Donald Trump. So that is some fun stuff from our poor, totally incompetent president. Media's in his pocket, and it really doesn't matter what they try to do. They can give him as many note cards as they want. They can shove inserted AI chips into his brain. It doesn't matter. He's still going to be Joe Biden.